So you have a tender read and you love overlanding. You have plans to do it big on the trails and some super glamping. One idea, deep news and reviews, a podcast the first rate and here just for you. You don't have to think about it, join us and be about it. Something interesting we want to hear about it, come on let's talk about it. Welcome to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints podcast.
Sponsored by Midland. Communication for every adventure. The industry leader in radio communication technology and innovation for over 50 years. Sponsored by MyMedic. Sponsored by Tembo Tusk. Sponsored by Trail Rated Coffee Company.
Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
Hi, my name is Phil from Waypoint Overland, and you're listening to Random Waypoints. All right, so here we go. Welcome to another episode of the Random Waypoints podcast. We'll be doing an episode every week, so like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to make sure you don't miss an episode. This week, we focus on the Pacific Northwest. On Waypoints, we talk about whale and storm watching along Oregon's coast and navigating the Oregon backcountry discovery routes. Also, on Random Lists, I give my favorite scenic overlooks and viewpoints in Washington State. Plus, we'll be doing an in-depth look at CYBERLANDR and how it might change overlanding and make Tesla a viable option. So stay tuned for the whole show. But first, let's take a look at the news.
During this segment, we'll cover various topics with a connection to overlanding in some way. It could be land use news regarding the national parks or the Bureau of Land Management. We'll keep you up to date on any auto industry news when it pertains to relevant and potential overlanding vehicles. There will be camping and outdoor industry news, as well as photography and video, fishing, hiking, and on and on. Now, here's the news.
Designed for the ultimate wilderness and urban adventures, CYBERLANDR lets you take your kitchen, living room, bedroom, bathroom, and office anywhere and everywhere your Tesla CYBERTRUCK can go. The chef's kitchen has a large tri-level sink with colander, wash bin, drying rack, and cutting board, a smart faucet with voice control, countertops with over 5 square feet of working space. An invisible induction cooktop is located underneath the countertop. The luxurious living room has home automation to effortlessly control climate and lighting by voice or app. A 32-inch 4K smart TV monitor with integrated Netflix, Prime, Apple TV, and YouTube. There's reclining, freestanding seating that can be repositioned or moved outside for the sunset, and surround sound audio for movies and streaming music. Moving on to the bedroom, seats transform into a comfortable, breathable RV queen bed. Electrochromic dimming, dual-pane windows provide the perfect blend of light and privacy. The bed sits at counter height with room underneath for 2 children or 1 adult, and an alarm system with 360-degree surveillance and motion-sensing exterior lighting lets you sleep securely. It will have a spa-inspired bathroom with radiant heated porcelain one-piece tile floor for comfort and durability. A recirculating shower with 4-stage filters, spa-style shower head with 5 flow patterns, and dry flush toilet with self-cleaning bowl. It even has a corner office with a view with Starlink satellite dish for high-speed, low-latency internet. So you can have Zoom conferences, get email and get work done, or play video games or stream movies from virtually anywhere. Wi-Fi provides wireless networking, and with Wi-Fi calling enabled on your cell phone, allows you to take cell phone calls even where you don't have cellular service. The 32-inch TV also works as a second monitor, wired or wirelessly, using Apple AirPlay. We'll keep you posted when there's more to report. A giant eagle with a big bright yellow beak has caused a stir on the East Coast. A Steller's sea eagle has been spending the winter along the upper Atlantic coast, capturing the imagination of birders across North America. Typically found along the Bering Sea, west of Alaska, stellars can tip the scales up to 20 pounds. Now, that dwarfs America's national symbol, the majestic bald eagle, which tops out at a roughly 14 pounds. This bird is not only way out of its usual range, but is most likely the same individual that's been seen in North America starting in last summer of 2022. A Steller's sea eagle is a rare bird for Alaska, but occasionally one appears on the coast. In August 2020, John Parks photographed a Steller's at mile 43 on the Denali Highway in the interior of Alaska. The bird didn't stay, and it was presumed to have headed back towards the coast. Then, on March 10, 2021, a post on Facebook from Barnhart Q5 Ranch and Nature Retreat popped up with a photo of a Steller's sea eagle. Someone claimed to have snapped an image of it while boating Colito Creek Reservoir in Texas. Birders immediately lost their minds over the highly unusual sighting. How does a fish-eating bird from coastal Russia make it all the way to Texas without being seen by anyone else? Not to mention surviving on food available in the United States. There was speculation the photo was a hoax until some intrepid birders visited the reservoir the next day via boat. They didn't find the bird, but they did find the exact snag the eagle in the photo was perched on, and speculation even suggested that perhaps a south of the border drug lord had an eagle as an illegal pet and it got loose. Much like the Denali Highway bird, the Texas bird was not seen again. Then, in late June 2021, a Steller's sea eagle appeared in eastern Canada. Birders converged on the bird, getting photos of it in flight, and compared it to photos of the bird taken on the Denali Highway. It had similar patterns of white, confirming it to be the same bird. We unfortunately do not have the flight feathers of the sea eagle in Texas, but it could be the same individual. Since then, the sea eagle has been working its way south. It's been reported in Nova Scotia, Massachusetts, and now Maine. Birders in the Midwest are hoping this wanderer will find its way along the Great Lakes and work its way west. Sometimes birds get way off course. Is there some genetic component that tells them to go east for migration as opposed to south? Did he get caught in a storm? It's tough to say, but a large bird like that eats primarily fish. It pretty much occupies the same habitat as bald eagles. There are fewer than 5,000 Steller's sea eagles in the world. Even if you went to their traditional range of coastal Russia or Japan, you wouldn't find many. So long as it keeps flying in North America, birders will be on the lookout. So if you hear of this spectacular bird working its way towards you, it's worth the road trip. A judge restored federal protections for gray wolves across much of the U.S. on Thursday. U.S. District Judge Jeffrey White in Oakland, California, said the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service had failed to show wolf population could be sustained in the Midwest and portions of the West without protection under the Endangered Species Act. Wildlife advocates had sued the agency last year, saying state-sponsored hunting threatened to reverse the gray wolf's recovery over the past several decades. The ruling does not directly impact wolves in the northern Rocky Mountains of Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and portions of several adjacent states that remain under state jurisdiction. Federal officials had defended the rule that removed protections, arguing wolves are resilient enough to bounce back even if their numbers drop sharply due to intensive hunting. At stake is the future of a species whose recovery from near extinction has been heralded as a historic conservation success. That recovery has brought bitter blowback from hunters and farmers angered over wolf attacks on big game herds and livestock. They contend protections are no longer warranted. Wildlife advocacy groups said the judge's order would mostly immediately put a stop to hunting in Great Lakes regions where Wisconsin officials had come under criticism after a wolf hunt last year blew past the state's quota, killing 218 wolves in 4 days. Wolves once ranged most of the U.S., but were wiped out in most places by the 1930s under government-sponsored poisoning and trapping campaigns. A remnant population in the western Great Lakes region has since expanded to some 4,400 wolves in Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, and more than 2,000 wolves occupy the 6 states in the northern Rockies and Pacific Northwest. Yet, wolves remain absent across most of their historic range. Wildlife advocates argue that continued protections are needed so they can continue to extend in California, Colorado, Oregon, and other states. Since the federal wolf protections were first enacted in 1974, legal battles have been fought to remove or scale them back. Ford is planning for a major restructuring of its electric vehicle offensive with a massive budget of up to $20 billion. Bloomberg reports that Ford will utilize specific strategies that Tesla used to gain its notoriety as the EV leader, including a roadmap for vehicles launched in manufacturing planning and a sizable budget. Ford has made drastic changes to its EV leadership, including the acquisition of Doug Field, a former Tesla engineer who left the company for Apple and then left Apple for Ford in 2021. The plan has a budget of between $10 and $20 billion, giving Ford free range in terms of what its capabilities will be moving forward. One of the most crucial portions of Ford's new plan is to transition factories that are responsible for manufacturing gas-powered vehicles into EV plants. F-150 Lightning deliveries are expected to begin in the spring, and the Mustang Mach-E was the second best-selling crossover SUV in 2021, trailing only the Tesla Model Y. In related news, Ford has hired Ford Tesla engineer Alan Clark, who left the company over 12 years to oversee Ford's advanced EV development projects. At Tesla, he spent over 12 years in the company's engineering department. In January 2012, Clark was promoted to the senior manager of new program engineering, where he oversaw the engineering and development of advanced prototypes and future models at Tesla's Los Angeles Design and Engineering Center. He then moved to director of new programs engineering until leaving Tesla in January 2022. Clark confirmed the move to Ford on his LinkedIn. It was initially reported by Automotive News. Toyota appears to be exploring the idea of using manual transmission systems for modern electric vehicles, at least based on several patents with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Toyota's manual transmission patents hint at the company's next move in the electric vehicle market. Electric vehicles function more like cars with automatic transmissions. Manual transmission systems have been difficult to bring into electric vehicles, partly due to the torque provided by the EV motors. Automatic vehicles have steadily taken over the global car market, particularly in the United States. However, manual cars are still popular around the world. In the United States, automobiles with automatic transmissions make up most of the vehicle market. However, manual transmission cars, which some refer to as stick shifts, are still popular in Europe and Asia. One of the main reasons stick shifts remain popular is because they provide a better driving experience. Manual cars provide drivers with more control over how the car operates, providing opportunities for fun and unique driving experiences on the open road. Toyota's manual transition patents appear to be for those drivers. The Japanese automaker may want to produce manual EVs to cater to drivers who enjoy being behind the wheel. On Thursday, February 10th, the United States Department of Transportation and the Department of Energy announced that nearly $5 billion will be available to build out the nation's electric vehicle charging network. The budget will be under the new National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Formula Program. Over the next 5 years, the program will provide about $5 billion to states to develop EV charging stations. It will focus on building stations along the interstate highway system in the United States. The $5 billion fund will focus on building EV charging stations along a designated alternative fuel corridor. States must submit an EV infrastructure deployment plan to access the funds. Later this year, The U.S. government plans to announce a second grant program geared towards increasing EV charging stations in rural and underserved communities. Well, that wraps up this week's news. Now it's time for Random Lists.
Random Lists is all about lists Waypoint Overland has created on an array of topics, such as top 5 national parks, top 10 trails in the United States, top 10 fill in the blank. I think you get it. Some lists will be pure fun, and others very informational. But they all will have a connection to overlanding in some way. We're very interested in hearing your suggestions for upcoming lists in the comments. Now, here's our random list.
The most beautiful places in Washington are arguably some of the most beautiful places in the world, at least in my opinion. Just wait until you see the scenic overlooks and viewpoints I've picked out after visiting multiple times and doing plenty of research. If you've never been or have only explored some parts of Washington, this list is going to be for you. If you're considering planning a trip to Washington but aren't sure what to see, this list is for you too. And for those of you planning a Washington State road trip, this list is most definitely for you. I can assure you, visiting the state is more than worth your time. Washington offers so many wonderful spots for you to visit. Washington State has a piece of my heart, and I hope to share that with you through this list. So, without further ado, here are my favorite scenic overlooks and viewpoints in Washington State. First, we start with 25 Mile Creek State Park. It's on Lake Chelan. 25 Mile Creek State Park is an overlooked yet truly stunning viewpoint. A 30 minutes drive from Chelan on South Lake Shore Road, the North Cascade Mountains rise above the gorgeous waters of the lake, showing off the first snows of the fall and the ruggedness of the mountains. Next, Mount Spokane. Best known for skiing and hiking, Mount Spokane makes for a glorious drive from mid-June through mid-October, offering panoramic views of wildflowers, meadows, and mountains in several spots along the nearly 13-mile route. After the scenic drive, take in the views from Vista House, a granite and timber structure originally built in 1933, perched atop the mountain. Next, I have Mary Hill's Stonehenge Memorial. Now, when driving along the Columbia River across from Oregon, the sweeping scenes found at Mary Hill's Stonehenge Memorial will leave you in awe. The Stonehenge replica, built as a memorial for lives lost in World War II on the cliff overlooking the Columbia River, perfectly frames the waterway, Mount Hood, and the surrounding landscape. Nearby, Mary Hill State Park, an 89-acre camping park with 4,700 feet of waterfront, brings you to the riverfront where you can dip your toes in the cold water surrounding the Golden Hills. Next, I have Mount Walker Viewpoint. If you've driven up U.S. Highway 101 along Hood Canal to Sequim, you've probably noticed the signs for Mount Walker. The summit is reached by a seasonally opened, unpaved 4-mile road. 2 viewpoints offer sweeping vistas of the Puget Sound and Olympic Mountains. From the north viewpoint, you'll see Hood Canal Bridge, Mount Baker, and the Cascades. The south viewpoint looks toward Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens. You can even spy Seattle and Tacoma skylines. At sunset, the view of Mount Rainier is incredible and memorable. Up next, I have Deer Park. Olympic National Park's Hurricane Ridge may get the most attention, but those seeking a wilder and more scenic route in the mountains need to head to Deer Park. This seasonally open road starts between Sequim and Port Angeles, winding upwards for 18 miles to a final elevation of more than a mile above sea level with incredible views of mountains and wildflowers. At night, this is a world-class spot for stargazing. Be aware that 9 miles are gravel and not suitable for RVs, trailers, or those wary of bouncy and narrow roads. Up next, I have North Head Lighthouse. Overlooking the mouth of the Columbia River in the Pacific Ocean, the historic North Head Lighthouse at Cape Disappointment State Park is one of the must-see spots in Washington. On stormy days, the boiling waves crash to the shore against the moody backdrop of black and gray clouds. On sunny days, the placid blue sea stretches for miles to the horizon and the entire sky glows orange at sunset. For a bonus, head down Jetty Road to Waikiki Beach to see sea waves crashing by the park's other lighthouse. Next, I have Point No Point Lighthouse. Point No Point Lighthouse stands tall over the Puget Sound at the northeasternmost tip of the Kitsap Peninsula. This scenic spot is known for immaculate sunrises and sunsets and views of the Cascades in the distance. You might spot a whale or seal splashing about in the water. At this remote outpost, the views are stunning from the car or on a walk along a mile-long beach trail. Birders should head to Point No Point Park for the numerous species of shorebirds. Next, I have North Cascades Highway's Washington Pass Overlook. Although Diablo Lake may get the most attention on the North Cascade highways, the Washington Pass Overlook is just as stunning. In the fall, before the road closes, golden larches stand out against the white backdrop of snow-capped peaks. If you're visiting in the late spring or summer, don't fret. The views are equally impressive throughout the year. Next, we want to go with Stevens Canyon Road. Running for 19 miles from Paradise to the southeast entrance of Mount Rainier National Park, Stevens Canyon Road is one of Washington's most scenic roads. Open during the snow-free months, the mountain views along Stevens Canyon are incredible. With wildflowers, wildlife, and water features, you can spend an entire day on the strength of this road, stepping at places like Reflection Lakes, Picture Frame Falls, and Box Canyon. Up next is Mount Rainier Viewpoint. South of Mount Rainier, 16 miles east of Packwood, along the White Pass Scenic Byway, is an overlook that many zoom right past. Known as Mount Rainier Goat Rock's observation site on U.S. Highway 12, this viewpoint may be widely ignored, but it offers a classic view of Mount Rainier. The roadside pullout usually has plenty of parking spots. Little Tahoma Peak juts out to the right of the glaciated summit. Happy travels on the road, and don't forget to pack your binoculars. But before you head off, remember to check the road status and whether you'll need a Discover Pass or permit to enter. Well, that's my list. Do you agree or disagree? Do you have your own list? Well, share in the comments. Now it's time for Waypoints.
Waypoints. Waypoints will cover all aspects of navigation for the overland traveler. Navigation is the act or practicing of navigating, the method of determining position, course, and distance traveled.
Keeping with the Pacific Northwest theme, this week on Waypoints, I'll tell you everything you need to know about whale and storm watching along Oregon's coast. The captivating 363-mile Oregon coast skirts small towns, breathtaking vistas, and must-stop spots. Although our favorite rocky outcropping and sandy shores of this mighty Pacific coastline are typically visited in the warmer months, the western edge of the Beaver State offers two unique experiences that make this destination a good year-round trip: amazing storm watching and world-class whale watching. Roaring winds and large sea swells smash against Oregon's rocky bluffs, spraying salt water high into the air. These monstrous waves, viewed safely from an overlook, are proof that a drive out to the coast is worth the trip in the winter. The best viewing comes when inclement weather is matched with high tides. The highest tides of the year, known as king tides, arrive in November, December, and January. Most storms hit the coast from November through March, presenting the perfect opportunity to view crashing waves on an otherwise dreary day. One of the most accessible spots to see massive waves is Shore Acres State Park near Coos Bay. At the park, you'll find a covered, windowed hut with an unrestricted view of huge waves exploding against rugged rocks. 2 miles south of Shore Acres is Cape Arago State Park. That also is a fantastic spot to see waves pound relentlessly against sea stacks. Along the central Oregon coast, 3 spots are scenic destinations for stormy and sunny days. Tillamook County is notable for its pounding surf during windy, wild weather. Waves slam the rocks to the north of Cape Kiwanda, while the action can be quite intense from the trails atop Cape Lookout State Park. Farther south, Depot Bay and Boiler Bay are great spots to watch a storm. In Depot Bay, be sure to check out the Spouting Horn, where waves funnel into ever smaller spaces in the rock ledges below the town's seawall until the energy releases into a towering spout. Above the turbulent waters, the Cape Perpetua overlook offers a breathtaking view of the ocean. Farther down at Devil's Churn, waves boil within a massive rock chasm, while at Thor's Well, the water thrashes about in a collapsed sea cave. Located on the mouth of Columbia River, Fort Stevens State Park is a good option for those who don't want to dip too far down the Oregon coast. A platform overlooking the South Jetty at Fort Stevens commands an impressive view. A roughly 30-minute drive from Fort Stevens down the coast brings you to Cannon Beach, which is known for its view of Haystack Rock featured in the 1985 film The Goonies. North of Cannon Beach, stop at Ecola State Park in Indian Beach, a secluded sandy beach popular with surfers. South of Cannon Beach, Oswald West State Park is also a good place for storm watching. If you don't mind hiking in bad weather to get to coastal views, that is. All these locations make for incredible stops all year long. But remember that safety is paramount while storm watching. Don't play around. This is serious business. Do not enter the water and stay at least 100 feet away from the shoreline. Exposed rocks, jetties, and driftwood logs are incredibly dangerous in storm surges. Whales can be spotted along Oregon's coast year-round, but certain months are better. From mid-December through mid-January, more than 20,000 gray whales migrate south to Mexico's Baja California peninsula. Their northern migration from late March to May marks the return of spring, with sightings of blowspouts a mile or so offshore. During their spring return to Alaska, the whales pass closer to the coast. While most of the whales migrate farther north, a few hundred gray whales stick around the Oregon coast for the summer and fall, with many lingering near Depot Bay. They often are spotted just 50 feet to a quarter mile offshore as they feast on shrimp found at the edge of the region's kelp beds. The Rocky Creek State Scenic Viewpoint and Boiler Bay are known for their great whale sightings. But ideal weather for spotting whales offshore is a sunny day with a flat ocean. Bring your binoculars and look for the telltale signs of a whale spout. That's the best way. Look for the whale spouts. Gray whales typically surface every 20 seconds as they swim, but may stay underwater for 3 to 5 minutes when feeding. After extended periods below water, they usually blow 5 times when they surface to replenish their oxygen supply. Gray whales aren't the only creatures in the water. You also have, around the end of April and early May, transient orcas that swim down from the Salish Sea and beyond to feast. Harbor seals are usually born in the late spring in the Pacific Northwest, giving plenty of wildlife watching opportunities at a viewpoint. Oregon State Park has 24 designated whale watching sites up and down the coast. The migration is celebrated twice per year in late December and late March during whale watch weeks. I highly recommend it. During the events, Volunteers are stationed at the best whale watching sites and are eager to point out passing whales and share information. Head over to Whalespoken, that's WHALE, whalespoken.org for dates, exact locations, and more information on this incredible event. If you're more inclined to hit some trails in Oregon, Oregon Backcountry Discovery Route is a 750-mile route through Oregon from the border of California to Walla Walla, and it's about 95% off-road. The route, which is entirely two-track or better, was created in the late 1990s by Bob and Cheryl Greenstreet of the Oregon Off-Highway Vehicle Association as a concept to promote managed trails and travel in the backcountry, and can be enjoyed by motorcyclists as well as four-wheel enthusiasts. Because of the various climate conditions, the Oregon Backcountry Discovery Route is not always a welcoming route. Snow in the passes can last into July. Desert temperatures can reach 100 degrees from June to September. The best times to take a crack are late June if the snowpack was light that year, late summer if it wasn't. When the day comes to hit the desert section, I advise to look ahead at the high temps for that day. Has it rained in the last 5 days? If it has, you can expect sticky and muddy conditions. More often than not, the official route may not be passable due to snow, closed gates, washouts, or river crossings being too deep. So, flexibility with the route and the ability to read maps and reroute around obstacles on the fly is key. The stretch along the Great Desert takes 9 hours to complete if you run the entire stretch. This would include the infamous Rock Garden, which is a 2 to 3 hour stretch of riding across the rocks of all shapes and sizes. The Oregon Backcountry Discovery Route has official campgrounds and many more primitive backcountry campsites that can be found along the way. At 750 miles, 95% off-road, and many technical sections along the way, riders move along the Oregon Backcountry Discovery Route at about 100 to 150 miles a day. Most sections can't be done faster than about 25 miles per hour. And then, of course, you've got to stop and pee, eat, change your GPS route, get gas, and so on. Well, that wraps up our special Pacific Northwest episode of the podcast. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And with that, I want everybody to stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully I'll see you here or on a trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.